Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sideline Breakdown, where, unlike Ireland, we don't miss any tackles. Kidding. Um, welcome to the Sideline, but this week's episode of the Sideline Breakdown, where we get into this weekend's games, take a deep dive into what happened, look at games like, obviously, game of the weekend, Springbok versus Ireland, where I don't think we probably set the record for in that game for the most amount of cards shown in one single international match. I think we'll quickly go over a very interesting game that I thought Wales versus New Zealand, where Wales actually stuck in the game for large periods up until the end. I think we can have a quick look at that. And then an 80-point game, France versus Australia, where France obviously took the win. So, Rock Norris, how's everything going there by you?
No, it's good. I hope you don't get a yellow card for that comment in the beginning because what happened after this weekend, I think yellow cards were handed out like candy. But no, I think yeah, it was another interesting weekend of rugby. As you mentioned, the Wales New Zealand game. I was actually surprised about that game. Wales was very much competitive, much more than I anticipated. New Zealand eventually got the 50 past them, so hats off to them for pitching up and giving them a good game.
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, I think let's dive straight into the rugby. I think we'll sort of start with Wales versus New Zealand and quickly go through that. Interestingly, I think Wales. Look, obviously Wales rugby at the moment isn't in a good place at all. And there's a massive rebuild that desperately needs to take place, and I think they're kind of starting with that. I think they've got a lot of young players that do look promising, and I think they're kind of building like Italy did, where they really trying to utilize the youth players to probably build the experience that's required at international level. But like you said, I think they showed up this weekend. I think they showed a lot of promise against, in fairness, a struggling New Zealand side. I think that's, you kind of have to look at all aspects, but at the end of the day, it's still New Zealand, and New Zealand rugby, have been top for many, many, many years. So I don't think we can take away from what Wales did. And I think the signs are promising, and it's never nice to see a proud rugby nation fall as they did. So I'm really hoping that they can actually rebuild and become a force to be reckoned with eventually, and start competing with the likes of Ireland and England there within the Six Nations. And if the box, I mean, it's kind of an expectation nowadays that if you go to Wales, you're going to win, especially if you're one of the top tier nations or top sides. You expect to win, and it's good to watch competitive rugby. So let's hope Wales are on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, definitely. I think they have a lot of positives that they can take out of this weekend's game. I mean, especially Tom Rogers scoring a hat trick against New Zealand, and the last person that did that was Maurice Hubert. So that already tells you something. And it was also the most tries that they have scored ever in a match against New Zealand. So I must say it was a good performance for them. And heading into the Six Nations, I think they can take a lot out of that, especially now that, as you mentioned, they are in a rebuilding phase, a lot of youngsters in the squad. So hopefully they can just build on this because the last time they were really competitive was back in 2019 when they almost beat us in that semi-finals. Hopefully they can get back to where they were back in 2019 because the more competitive teams there are, the better it is for everyone at the end of the day. So all in all, good game. But yeah, I think questions still needs to be asked about New Zealand. I mean, them conceding four tries and keeping Wales in the game for that first part of the second half. Wales was still in it. And then that last 20 to 30 minutes, New Zealand just pulled away. So yeah, I think there's more negatives from their side than they can take out positives. It's interesting, they also lost three games this year. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but for them and the standards that they set, it's quite a lot of games that they lost, and they lost some of that games badly. So it's back to the drawing board for them. Yeah, I don't know what you make of the New Zealand public's opinion about they need new. a new coaching staff and someone with international experience.
It's a difficult one. I don't. I think Razor's obviously a good coach, and he's proven he's a good coach. But the level of consistency that he built with the Crusaders with players, you know, players that I mean, the Crusaders had top players at a stage under Razor, and a lot of them left, and he still managed to keep a consistency to the Crusaders. That's very difficult to do with obviously his type of coaching. So I think it's difficult to say that they definitely need new coaches. I think they've also got a crop of young players that are coming through with a lot of more experienced players that are probably on the decline. They've got a lot of young players that need to build that experience. Where you look at, not to compare, but you look at someone like Rossi, who's built a very good system over the last couple of years, where he's managed to keep experienced players that are at a certain level and bring through younger players to try and get to that level. I think it's very difficult to say that coaching is the problem. At the end of the day, for New Zealand, I think there's a number of different key factors that come into play. Coaching may well be one of them. I'm not saying it's not an issue, but I don't think you can solely put it on them. I think the players play a big role. Um, and I mean, with that being said, teams go through dips. New Zealand can't be the best every the way of the land. The Springboks have been the best since 2019, essentially, and the Springboks eventually will get to a point where they also take a dip. Um, so I think patience is probably key, and I don't think Razor is going to be let go before the World Cup in any case. So um, yeah, I think for them the best is probably to build with what he has at the moment. Take the next 2 years and get these guys more experienced, and then see what happens in the next World Cup. I think.
The main issue, what the public has with him, is the fact that I think there's three or maybe four players that's not there from the previous World Cup. So, except for that, they still have the same squad and the same team, the same players available from that World Cup final. So, I mean, the question is he a quality enough coach to be an international coach, or because you have seen a lot of coaches that are good at provincial level or club level, but they can't just make that step up at international level where you have the best players available, and you obviously need to game plan for that, where at provincial or club level you build up a squad from different type of players and then you can make them better.
I mean, I hear that. Again, I'm not saying the coaching isn't an issue. I mean, he's only had what's it been now 2 years already. I think you look at someone like, I mean, Rossi wasn't an international coach before he became one either. So I think time again, yeah, I think it is a difficult one, and you know, I can sit here and say that Razor might be good enough. There's every chance that he may not be good enough to coach at international level. So I think it's just a wait and see. I mean, everyone thought he was the next big thing when he was at the Crusaders, and that's exactly the reason why he got the job. But yeah, I don't think Rome wasn't built in a day. And like I said, I think they have experienced players that are on the decline and new players coming through. So it's a difficult spot to be in as a coach and build a vision and your vision with the situation that they currently are in. I think Rossi, for example, got into a good spot where he had a lot of experienced players in their prime managed that he was able to pick from, and those players have obviously now developed, and that gave him the opportunity to bring in a couple of youngsters to start building experience with them, as well as keep his experienced players playing at a certain level and again in their prime. And yeah, I think just Razor is probably just in a very tough spot at the moment, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I also think so. And I think hindsight, they realized that Ian Forster wasn't that bad of a coach as they thought he was. Obviously, New Zealand had tough opposition at the time. I mean, the Springbok was still in their prime when they beat New Zealand, and obviously he received a lot of backlash for them losing the rugby championship and losing here. So they realize now that he's actually not that bad of a coach. But yeah, it's also a fact that you need to also look at your opposition and just acknowledge that they maybe are just better than what you are currently. So I think that's also something you can or need to take into consideration. It doesn't matter what good coach you have if you don't have that quality of a side, then obviously you won't win. So that's just my observations. And I also heard an interesting thing from Will Greenwood that he said that everyone else is now playing for who is second best in the world because he said that no one can compare to the Springboks currently.
Definitely. And I mean, New Zealand were in that position for a number of years as well. We were also playing for who's the second best nation in the world. And yeah, I think that's the reality of the situation that New Zealand are in. I think if I was New Zealand's coach, if I was raised at the moment, I would try and stick with a crop of players that I think I'll be able to get the best out of in terms of how I want to play. Stick with them and try and get those guys experience at the international level, and take the highs and take the lows, because there will be lows. That's again reality of life, especially when you coming up against the Box, who are the best in the world at the moment, and try and get them playing the way that you want to play. And if you aren't able to do that, then it may well be a case of you aren't a good enough coach to be an international one. And yeah, that's just how it is. And yeah, in terms of the Box, I think it's a very I think the Box are in a very unique position. I don't think I, I don't know. May sound a bit arrogant, but I don't think a team has been this good. I think, and the debate obviously goes on when you look at the New Zealand 2011 to 2015 side, that you can argue they were as good as this team, but I think it's very rare to be in a position like this. And yeah, as a Springbok fan, as a South African, it's an awesome place to be.
Yeah, I must say we are not used to this. I mean, yeah, I don't think ever in our history we were in this position. Normally, it was New Zealand that was the world leaders, as you mentioned, from 2011 to 2015. So, yeah, it's a unique position, and I think we should enjoy it while it lasts because, yeah, I'm sure it won't last forever, as we saw with New Zealand. So, we should just enjoy it. And then, on another note, what did you make of the Ireland South Africa game?
I mean, South Africa dominated from minute one. Evident to see. I mean, I think we went into the game with the mindset of this is a final, and we don't care, because I mean we've played so many different styles of rugby over the year, and I think that's a testament to the coaching staff. We know how to win, whether it's your Argentina where you put 60 points past them, or whether it's Ireland this game where you squeeze them and just absolutely dominate up front with power. Yeah, I think the Box will be disappointed, because I think they easily could have put at least 40 past Ireland, especially with the amount of cars that Ireland got. I mean, the stage was 15 versus 12, and we were dominating the game with 15 versus 15. So I think we could have been a bit slightly more clinical, but again, I think it was a mindset of this is a final, and we just want to win the game just to shut the critics up, because I think there were a lot of people that thought Ireland were going to put up much more of a fight, but that they didn't. Obviously, I think they did do reasonably well considering the scenario they were in. But yeah, I mean, the Box just absolutely dominated them. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that probably the most disappointing fact was that Ireland scored a try against us with 13 men on the field. So I think they caught us a bit napping there. And yeah, and the fact that we couldn't, be as clinical as we hoped to be, especially when they were down in that period with 12 men, especially in the beginning of the first half, and then that last 20 minutes, we were also dominated them. Um, yeah, that's probably the only negatives from the game, but it was almost as we played out the time, like scrum everything, milk the penalty, scrum again and scrum again, because that takes almost 10 minutes out of the game. So, and we did it twice at the end of the first half and then at around the 60th minute mark, we also did that again. So, and there was also, I think, 3 or 4 times that we had clean breaks, but we couldn't convert that. But that being said, I think Ireland was also sneaky in the way they played. Obviously, they were penalised for most of the infringements because they were 90% of the time they were offside or there were side entries and don't even mention the scrum. So, yeah, I feel they were lucky with, I think, 4 or 5 times where they came in from the side or they didn't release and they turned the ball over. So if it wasn't for that, we could have put in easily 14 or 21 points behind them. So at the end of the day, we'll take the victory because, I mean, the last time we beat them, neither of these players was in the squad. I think most of them were still in school.
I mean, 100%. And I think the Box have been, look, I think the Box are trying a number of different things this year and different ways of playing. And, mistakes will come when it comes to new ways of playing, new game plans, new tactics. And I think the Box could kick themselves for a couple of games where they weren't clinical enough. You look at the Australian game where we were 22-0 up and Australia came back to win that game. The New Zealand game in Auckland, we should have won where we just made a lot of mistakes. So yeah, I think it's yeah, new tactics always bring mistakes. Hopefully we can iron those edges out where we are more clinical, where we are more accurate and make much fewer mistakes. But at the end of the day, I think I'm happy with the win. Again, I think that's the mentality that they went into this game with, where they thought, you know what, we're just going to dominate up front. Just kind of, I know you've mentioned it in previous episodes, that slow poison where you just break that mental barrier that they have and just kind of, I mean, these are experienced props that we went up against and we made them look like schoolboys at the end of the day with how we dominated that scrum. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, happy with the win. Good way to close out the year. And yeah, I think we shut a lot of critics up, which is always a positive thing. So yeah, but yeah, I think getting into the game slightly more. What did you make of all the cards? What did you make of the red card or the 20-minute red card? All those wonderful things.
Look, yeah, it's always not nice to talk off the game about a lot of cards, but yeah, I feel we were lucky with Sasha for him not to be carded. I think at least a yellow card, given the previous 2 weeks, what have happened. He made direct head contact, although the player was dipping and he was low. So I think first of all we were lucky for not getting a card there. But yeah, their red card, I mean, it was reckless and it was stupid. I mean, he could have gotten a permanent red card for that action. So I think he was lucky, not to be red carded permanently. So yeah, we also wait to see for how long he will be banned because I mean, yeah, you can't run into a ruck with your shoulder and clean out a guy. So yeah, and I mean, also you got the red card against New Zealand, which they retracted, but I still feel that was a red card because, I mean, there was also no attempt to wrap direct head contact with the shoulder, so I think it's just justice being served at the end of the day. And yeah, the rest of the yellow cards, I mean, what else can you do? I mean, they kept infringing, whether it was offside, whether it was in the scrum, whether it was from the side or on the ground. So, I mean, if you give away that amount of penalties, which they did, in the positions that they've done. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. So I just feel they're lucky not to have received one or two more yellow cards for a few other infringements as well. Yeah, what's your take on that?
No, I completely agree. I think I don't think it could have been a straight red. I think it should have been a straight red, especially with what happened to Lut and Franco Mostert. And I think the scenarios were different. Where although he was low, he actually intentionally went for him without an arm, without wrapping. It was clearly shoulder on head with a lot of force. And I do think it should have been a straight red card, permanent red card. So that's my take on that. And I think it was one. It was very stupid because I mean, everyone knows you can't do that. There's cameras everywhere. Why would you think, okay, this is a great idea and I'm going to get away with it? But also, I think that really changed the complexion because I mean, Ireland scored from that or in that place. At that stage, would have been at least five or possibly seven, and you know, who knows what could have happened from there. So I think he can be kicking himself for making such a stupid decision. And yeah, I think it would have been a very interesting game if he managed to stay on and Ireland got that try. Who knows what could have happened. But I think in terms of the yellow cards, it's like you said, it's just the constant pressure. It's difficult to not infringe, get penalised for the dominance that the Springboks obviously showed. A lot of offsides, a lot of scrum penalties. It's just the name of the game at the end of the day. And I'm not sure whether that was in Russ's plan at all, but if it was, brilliant plan. Get all the guys sent off, and then we win like that. But yeah, I actually wanted to ask you as well. There was actually something, the tackle from I think it was Tommy O'Brien, if I'm correct. His tackle on Kenan Moody that I also thought should have been carded. I know they said it wasn't. What did he say? It wasn't a large amount of force or passive tackle or whatever the excuse was. But I think it was high. It was head-on-head contact. Again, if you're looking at the rule book, and I don't think it was a passive tackle. I just think he lost the battle, and that's why he came off second base. But I do think I don't know. In my opinion, probably should have been a yellow card, and I think that kind of cancels out Sasha's
Mm.
tackle at the end of the day. So I don't think you can really say, in my opinion, that Sasha should have gotten one because I could say that okay, well Tommy O'Brien should have gotten one as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say because yeah, neither of us was in that position to make the call on field, you know. So it's difficult to say that it should have been a yellow card or not. But I think you've hit the nail on the head to say that it basically cancels out Sasha's yellow card. So given the fact that Sasha didn't get a yellow card for that infringement, I feel it's fair that he didn't get the yellow card because Kanan was full throttle going into contact where the tackler was basically waiting for him. So I understand his argument to say that the tackler was passive in that situation. So yeah, I mean it cancels out each other. So yeah, I don't really have much else to add on that. But I think the fact that Ireland couldn't adapt to our style of play. I mean, I think we just played way too fast than they anticipated. I mean, just the speed of our delivery, just how quickly we spread the ball and from one ruck to another. I don't think they had any answers to that, and the only way that they could compensate for that was either to be offside or hitting the ruck from the side or infringing on the ground. So yeah, I think it's just the way we played and at the speed in which we played that made them infringe that much. And the same for the high tackles. I think, yeah, we were just miles ahead in the way we played the game that they had to infringe. I don't think they had another choice because if they hadn't, then we would have scored 4 or 5 more tries. So yeah, I think it's that risk that they took just to ensure that we don't score. And at the end of the day, it worked out for them. But at the flip side, I think we also, that last 10 minutes when they attacked us, that was another flex from our side in the way we defended them because they tried to physically take us on, with their forwards, but then we just dominated them in the tackles at the rucks. They couldn't get front football. Even when we got the yellow card, they still couldn't get through. So I think, yeah, we just showed that we are a more superior side than them in the way we defended there. So yeah, I think they were lucky to get that penalty where Mani celebrated the knock on. I mean, that's the first time I've seen a referee, penalize someone from um, celebrating a knock on. So we'll see what happens when England faces another team to see whether they will also be penalized because I think they celebrate every small error that a team makes.
Yeah, no, look, look, I think let's cap off on the box. I certainly agree with that, and I was actually going to mention it as well that we put a lot of praise on our dominance going forward, but I think our defense really showed up as well, and I think our defense looks extremely solid at the moment. Forwards, I don't think you can. You certainly won't run through our forwards. You can maybe run around them, but I think that's where we really have a brilliant backline defense with Jesse Creel, Damien Delindi, and you look at guys like Chisholm Colby and Kanan Moody out on the wings. I mean, they make brilliant reads at times. Yeah, no, look, credit to our defense, and it's something that I know. So I know it's again to do with football. So Alex Ferguson always said, "What attack wins you games, defense wins you titles." And I think it's evident with the box as well. It shows why we're the best in the world at the moment. Is we can show what we're all about moving forward, but we can do so in defence as well, especially against the teams that we come up against. Ireland play quite an expansive game. So do New Zealand, so do France, and we nullified them at the end of the day. So yeah, no, look, I think like I said, we're in a very, very good spot as Springbok players and as fans as well. It's great to see. But yeah, look on Moni's celebration. It's. I mean, England are gonna concede a record amount of penalties in one game if that's how things are gonna be blown. So on the England game as well, I saw actually I didn't mention them in the build up to the start of the episode, but you're England Argentina as well. Very interesting game. But I can't remember who said it. It was one of the commentators who said, "Yo, what England don't do anymore is, their mentality. It shows how far they've come now, and they used to celebrate the small things, and now they don't celebrate the small things anymore. They just kind of get up and get on with it." I was thinking, yo, okay. Pretty sure I saw a number of players, and what the funniest thing was is after he said it, I think it was about 20 minutes, where they showed it was a turnover and Ben Earl absolutely screaming because they won a turnover, and I was like, there we go. There's your mentality, Kings.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially when England's at the back foot, because it was when Argentina came back into the game and they were just a few points ahead where they celebrated that. So, I mean, that won't change. I mean, Ben Curry will stay where he is. I mean, there's now rumors that he attacked Contepomi there in the changing room. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it just shows you what type of player he is. And I mean, Bonky complained about him, and now it's more players. And I mean, that late hit on the Argentina player. I mean, yeah, they are fortunate that they got away with that. So yeah, but I think Argentina pitched up for the game. I mean, they came back there at the beginning of the first half, beginning of the second half, sorry, and yeah, I think they showed that they are a team to be reckoned with, and I feel that England was a bit lucky to get away with the win. I think Argentina was close to getting the victory, but maybe just one or two calls not going their way at the end of the day cost them the game.
100%. And I think New Zealand were very lucky to win the game. I don't think they deserved it at all, to be honest with you. I think they, I think they're getting a bit arrogant, and they think they can beat just about anyone. Where I think it was quite evident that they really aren't. They did dominate the first half, and they did well in the first half. I'll give that to them. Credit where credit is due. But I think Argentina, I think late first half, Argentina kind of got their some sort of foothold, and then that second half they really showed what they can do and what they can be. And obviously Argentina have got a really good attacking game on them, and yeah, I think England brought the dirty side of the game. You know, that side that no one likes. And I mean, if it wasn't for a botched line out in the last minute, England probably would have lost it. Argentina were, 80 minutes started in their own 22 and ended up with a penalty 5 meters out. And yeah, if it wasn't for the line out, England would have lost. And they would have given up an extremely big lead. And I would have loved to have seen that just to see what the response would have been, seeing as they're so all high and mighty. But yeah, I think someone just really needs to bring them down a notch. Um, and I mean, I saw another comment. I know it was a post on Facebook where they're talking about Henry Pollard being the best in the world in terms of impact player, and he's going to be the best in the world at this and that. And I thought, this guy's only played what, not even 200 minutes of international rugby, and you blowing so much smoke up his arse. It's not even funny. He is a good player. I'll give it to him, but he's certainly nothing. He's not tried and tested at all. And I can probably count on quite a lot of players who have shown extremely good promise coming through, who just haven't made it. So um, I think that's where the arrogance comes through, and humility is very important, because I think humility takes you a longer term than an arrogant player who thinks he's the best in the world right now, but hasn't shown that much to really prove it. He also didn't really do much for me when he came on, to be honest. So I don't know where they're getting all this hype from. So yeah, I spoke quite a
Yeah,
lot there about them, but what were your thoughts on the game?
yeah, no, look, I think the POM squad, as they call them, was actually nullified this weekend because they actually faced a team that also plays a very physical game. Because, I mean, Argentina has some big forwards, and especially with Pablo Matera coming off the bench, all those guys, I think they actually had an opposition that fronted up physically against them. You could see they struggled. So, and I think this was the first time in this whole Autumn Nation series where they were actually tested against a physical team and it showed. So, yeah, that's just my take. I mean, I agree with your comments on him. I think he needs to be tested more, especially against quality opposition, because, I mean, to be fair, the only quality opposition they really faced was New Zealand and now Argentina. So, I mean, in a couple of weeks' time, Six Nations will start. So then it's quality opposition one after another, weekend after weekend. So then we will see how they will perform. Will they be able to front up physically against France and Ireland? And will he be able to make that impact off the bench or whether he starts? So yeah, that's just let's wait and see what will happen. I mean, obviously, credit needs to be given to England. I mean, they've won 11 games on the trot. It's not easy to do that. So, but I think their biggest test will come next year, Six Nations, and then obviously that new tournament that starts when they travel to the Southern Hemisphere. So then we will be able to tell whether they are the best in the world or not. And yeah, only time will tell. And funny enough, I also saw a page that made front news with one of those newspapers in the UK where they said that this is why England's front row is the best in the world. And then I just thought, did you watch the Ireland game? Because I mean, that Furlong, Dan Sheehan, and Porter was humiliated from the first minute until the 70th minute by two different front rows. And I mean, they were once upon a time the best in the world. And I mean, they dominated. So, yeah, I don't think you need to talk about how you are the best in the world before you have faced the best back in the world. So yeah, that's just my opinion on that.
And you know what? I actually think Ireland's front row is better than England's front row. So I think that tells you enough. I mean, the box could probably put out three, four different combinations of front row, and we'll still probably dominate them. I mean, we had Bowen Venter and Gerard Steenkamp who dominated Ireland, and Oxenche wasn't there, Jan Hendrik Wessels wasn't there, and we saw a lot of guys that can replace them as well. And then you look at, I mean, Volpulo, Thomas du Toit at the moment are insanely good. Volpulo is arguably one of the best tight ends in the world. Thomas du Toit, I think, struggled the last little bit, but I mean, in this game, he showed what he really could do. Um, so yeah, I don't even think the top. Let me just think now. I don't know. I don't think they're top three even. Oh wait, South Africa could probably put out four. So probably I don't even think they're top 10 to be honest with you. So yeah, just joking. But no, I think England are doing well, and I think you credit them for that. But I mean, really, it's just a bit of a joke in terms of how arrogant they really are and can be. Everyone says the Boks are the team to catch, except for England fans apparently.
Yeah, look, there's at least a few of them that recognizes that they are playing for second best. But yeah, like we said, I think only time will tell to see how far they have or how they have improved actually. So yeah, let's wait and see how they do in the Six Nations and then with the tour to South Africa next year, and then after that we can actually say, okay, are they real title contenders for the World Cup, or did they just have a good run now and they are just there fighting for third or fourth place? So moving on, there's one more international game this weekend where Wales take on the Springboks. I think to sum that up, that's basically to see whose URC team is the best between Wales and South Africa, because none of our other players are available. Same with Wales, so it's the best of the URC against each other.
I mean, I think it's good to see where a couple of these guys can. It's almost like the Curry Cup in South Africa. All your guys go and play for the bigger teams or your internationals, and then you see your younger players coming through who, yeah, you want to boggle. So I think it'll be an interesting game to watch. I mean, it's always nice to see the Springboks play. So yeah, looking forward to the game. I think it'll be interesting to see the side that we go with. But yeah, I mean, excited for the game. I'm not expecting anything other than a Springbok win. But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited for the game. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we will obviously see a few new faces because, I mean, Marx, Thomas Boone Venter to start with is not available for selection. So we will need to start a new front row. So it will be interesting to see who he goes with. I presume Gerard Steenekamp will start with Grobler. So it will be interesting to see if he will give Zachary Porton another start with Volkulo just again on the bench to ensure that we have that backup available. And then, yeah, in the lock department as well, because Lode Jager, Erge Snyman is not available. So, yeah, we'll probably see again Eben and Ruan starting. And then, yeah, Peter Steff, Grant Williams, Pollard, Mani de Bok, JC Crew, Colby, Edwell have all returned to their unions as well. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who will start, who will be on the bench. I mean, we will need to see a new centre pairing as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see the in brackets the new guys, to put it like that, and to see the new combinations just to see how we finish off the year.
I wonder if we won't be choosing that. And I can't remember his name, but I do like him. He played for the Baby Box, the hooker. I wonder if we won't see him given an opportunity to see how he goes. Um,
I've read somewhere that he
don't
picked
know.
up an injury, so he didn't travel.
Is it?
Yeah.
Uh,
So I
that's
think
disappointing.
I think Bonky is the backup there.
Okay, fair enough. I thought that was going to be Rassi's plan, where yeah, he would have been chosen for this Wales game specifically. But oh well, I suppose it's let's hope he gets an opportunity at the Bulls because I think he's quite promising to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of the Bulls, URC also starting again this weekend. I think it's going to be tough on a few teams without their Springboks, especially with the Bulls playing the Lions at Loftus. So, yeah. Are you excited about the URC being back? And what do you think about the Bulls and the Lions game?
Well, one I saw Kate Voliter is now signed for the Bulls, so from the Lions, you know, coincidentally. But yeah, I don't know. It's I mean, excited to see the Bulls fans. You know, Johan Akkerman's he's had some time with the players, so hopefully he would have been able to implement some of his plans and his style, his tactics with these Bulls players. So I think it's going to be a good game to watch. Obviously, the X-Skate Derby is always fun to watch. A lot of running rugby. Obviously, I think the Bulls might. I don't know if Jan Goosen is actually back. I did see a couple of photos of him training, so I hope he's back so we can get that flow of position covered and sorted out. But excited for the game. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Obviously, the Lions have got quite a young squad, but a very promising squad. So yeah, always an interesting game. Hopefully, the Bulls can pull out a win. And again, I think it's going to be interesting to see the teams that the Bulls go with, especially with the amount of box that obviously aren't there. So yeah, I mean, I always predict a Blue Bulls win, but we'll see how it goes. What do you make of it?
Look, from a neutral perspective, I think it's going to be a tough game for you, to be honest. I mean, it's a settled Lions side. I mean, only without Morne van der Berg and I think Kanye. So I'm not sure if Kanye is back with the Lions, but except for those two, they are a settled side. They've played together this whole season, so and gathered a bit of momentum from their home games. So yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game for you guys, especially without all your Springboks. So yeah, I think it will be an interesting game. I think it should be close, but yeah, for me, I think the Lions should take this one. But it's as you mentioned. I mean, Johan Ackerman has had a lot of time now with the guys there. He would have known from the beginning that the Springboks won't be available. I think everyone would have trained in their positions. So at least you will be settled in that sense. So yeah, so let's see what happens. But yeah, I'm predicting a Lions win for this Yexke derby.
One thing I would say is I think where we struggle, and I think it's something that we've struggled with the last couple of games with the Bulls, is actually our bench. I think we start very well. I think the problem is when the replacements come on, is when we see the game kind of drop off. I think the Lions are settled, but I think form might be the issue. I don't think they have been as good as they were previously. But yeah, I think it will be an interesting game. Like I said, it's always a tough game against the Lions, but it's always exciting to watch. I think there's going to be a lot of running rugby, which is awesome to see. But yeah, I think the one thing that you compared to the Lions with the Bulls is the Bulls have obviously a slightly more depth, and although we're missing a couple of Springboks, we should have quality to be able to replace them. And I don't think we are necessarily better than the Lions, but I don't think we're worse than them either. So um, I think it's quite an evenly matched side. It's just about who rocks up on the day.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, hopefully Johan Goosen is back from injury, and I mean Akker van der Merwe is also injured, so I think he should also be ready now. And then obviously you're missing Cameron Hanekom as well as Alrich Low, which is two big players for you. So yeah, it's obviously not an easy start to the season. and an easy start now to start again without your Springboks and those injured players. But yeah, I think obviously I have a lot of depth, so I think the only issue we had previously was on fly half because I mean Pollard is with the Springboks and Goosen is injured, so and at least now you've backed them up with Kate Voliter, so hopefully he will stay injured free as well. So then at least you will have three quality fly halves available to pick going forward, which will be great for all the tournaments that lies ahead now.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kate Volatile is almost as worse than Jan Goosen at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good player, and I think he's lost out on a lot of potential and a lot of talent that he showed in the beginning of his career when he broke through. I think he's a good option, but I don't think he's much better than that. I would obviously like to see him there rather than Keegan Johannes. But yeah, I think we're going to be sitting with the same issue of injury. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I think it's going to be an interesting game. But yeah, moving on, Munster Stormers. What do you make of that game?
Oh, look, I think the Stormers and the Sharks they have the most difficult gigs now and next weekend because obviously we're traveling, both of us, without our Springboks, so it will be tough. But yeah, for the Stormers, I don't think we're missing a lot of Springboks. It's only Raina, Sasha, and Damien. They are obviously key players to the squad, but I think the squad has played together now more than enough games to be settled. So, and it's going to be against a good Munster side. Whether they will pick their Irish players or not, it's still to be seen. But yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult game for the Stormers, to be honest. Munster is obviously a quality side. They have good international players as well. And obviously, the Stormers haven't won a match there at Munster. So it's going to be a difficult one. But yeah, I'd say I'll back the Stormers to get their first victory there. What's your opinion?
Look, I think it's going to be a tough game. I mean, I don't think the Stormers are missing an insane amount of players, like you said. So I think they have the benefit of that. But I think the I think the only real negative is the fact that it's overseas and that it's obviously an away game. I think that's the one thing that really counts against the Stormers. From a neutral, I would actually go the other way. I think Munster will edge it, but I think it's going to be a very close game. Obviously, we'd be backing the Stormers, but yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's be a close game with Munster just edging it. But I mean, look, the Stormers have had a good start to the CRC season. With that being said, so you never know what they could do. I certainly wasn't predicting that they would do as well as they have done so far. So let's hope for a surprise at the end of the day. And yeah, onto the Sharks. I think if you're looking at one South African side that's really struggling, it's them. Um, and again, wouldn't have been predicting the start that they would have had, considering the players that they have available to them. So yeah, I think the Sharks are going to have a really tough time, considering form and again the fact that it's an away game. So yeah, let's hope it's a okay. Obviously, it won't be a South African clean sweep because obviously the Bulls or the Lions would lose. But let's hope that the Stormers and Sharks can pull a win out of the hat.
Unless it's a draw between the Lions and the Bulls, then it's a clean sweep. But
I would
no,
call it a clean sweep.
yeah, no, I'm with you. So I also think the Sharks are going to struggle. I mean, they haven't had any momentum yet. So yeah, I don't see them putting that one over the line. But yeah, but I think to get back to the Manchester Stormers game quickly, I think that's going to be the game of the weekend because it's the only two unbeaten sides still in the competition. Munster and the Stormers hasn't lost a game yet, and we mentioned earlier in the season that the Stormers haven't been tested yet. So I think this will be their first big test to see where they are currently, whether it justifies their form, winning 5 games in a row. So, yeah, I mean, win or lose, I think it will be good to see where they actually rank among the top teams.
Yeah, I think we have mentioned previously when you and I have obviously spoken that the Stormers have had a good start, but haven't really been tested. So I think it would have been great if all the players were available just to see how they would compete with the Springboks and depending on what Munster do this weekend, the Irish players. But yeah, look, I think it's going to be a very close game, and I do agree, game of the weekend, probably. I mean, not much else to say except let's see what happens, I suppose. Yeah, but I think,
Yeah,
look, I think it's going to be an interesting weekend of rugby again.
let's hope Evan Roos doesn't knock a lot of balls this weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the way everyone's carrying on at the moment about Evan Roos, he can't do anything wrong at the moment. But yeah, look, Stormers South African sides always try and dominate up front, so we'll see if they can do what the Boks did to Ireland. I can't see anything other than a Stormers win, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but
100%.
yeah, good chats.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone let us know what your thoughts are on this weekend's rugby, that post, the games coming up. Obviously, URC starting again. Uh, for those on YouTube, like and subscribe and join us next week for the continued URC season. I think we're all looking forward to this weekend's games, and yeah, let's all have a good weekend of rugby.
Thank you. See you again next week.
Awesome.